Today on the show, we are going to be reacting to ESPN NFL draft analyst Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest top 25 big board released after the Reese's Senior Bowl. Before we get into Mel Kiper's latest not mock draft, the big board today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button because ESPN makes you pay $120 a year or more for ESPN Plus, which is where they originally posted this content. Here at Chat Sports, we're giving it to you guys 100% free because we think that that is an absolutely ridiculous price tag. So if you want premium NFL draft content every single day right here on this channel, make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now because unlike ESPN Plus, you can get this content 100% free right here by Chat Sports. We'll start here with Mel Kiper's number 25 prospect in this year's draft class, Walter Nolen, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. And Walter Nolen is somebody that is extremely, extremely athletic, all right? Like, he had a little bit of an injury at the Senior Bowl, but the first couple days at practices when he was moving around, he just moves differently than other interior pass rushers. And in today's day and age, we see it with Jalen Carter and the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Interior pressure is so important to stopping the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. So Nolen and his pass rushing skill set will certainly be something to keep your eye on as draft day approaches. Number 24, Mel Kiper Jr. has Jihad Campbell, inside linebacker out of the Crimson Tide. And Campbell is a very well-rounded inside linebacker, right? This is somebody that's probably going to go late round one, maybe sometime in round two, but he's going to be a day one starter. He's going to be a damn good starter as an off-ball linebacker to start. He's well coached there with the Crimson Tide. So, you know, he's maybe not the most explosive guy in the world like Jalen Walker. We'll talk about Jalen later in the show, but very, very good, all well-rounded player here from the Crimson Tide. Number 23, also from Alabama, Tyler Booker, the guard. Once again, this is a very well-rounded player, well-coached player, and you know, in a class that doesn't have a lot of true guard talent, I think that this class actually has a lot of offensive tackles that will move and be interior linemen in the National Football League. But Booker is somebody that played guard in college, and I really see him as a true guard in the National Football League as well. And, you know, I don't know if he's number 23 on my big board. He's a very good player, don't get me wrong. But just because of positional value, I don't know if I'd put him at number 23. Number 22, Mel has Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. And, you know, when I watch Egbuka on film, guys, the person he kind of reminds me of is another Ohio State wide receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now, I was a little bit lower on Jackson Smith-Njigba when he was coming out. Some people were like saying, oh, he's worth a top 5 pick out. I wasn't right there with the JSN people. He's not the most explosive guy in the world. JSN's a good receiver, but like JSN, Emeka Egbuka, maybe not the most explosive athlete in the world, but really good after the catch, really great locker room guy, super clean route runner, tough catcher over the middle of the field as well. Like, he's going to be a day one out of the box starting level number 2 wide receiver for an NFL team, and I think he's probably going to go somewhere between 20 and pick number 32. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up, but very good player to whoever lands him. Number 21, I'm probably going to absolutely butcher this name, but Nick Emanwori. There we go. We got it. The safety out of South Carolina. You want to talk about explosive middle of the field defenders? This guy is that. He is a former linebacker. All right, so he's a bigger guy, but he can really, really run as well, which is something that a lot of teams really cherish in today's NFL. Kind of these versatile chess pieces that can play in the box, that can play back at the safety positions. Like, you know, this is somebody that I think a lot of teams will look at as a big-time player, and I can certainly see why. So let me know down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment, who will be the surprise faller in the 2025 NFL Draft? We saw it with guys like Malik Willis. We saw it with guys like Will Levis. Is it Shedeur Sanders' year to fall a little bit this year? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. What's a player that's being very highly touted that will end up dropping in this year's NFL Draft class? Number 20 on Mel Kiper Jr.'s big board here, Malachi Starks, another safety. And I do have Starks over the South Carolina kid here. I'm not going to try to say his name again here, but Starks is somebody with incredible ball skills, great athlete, can make some crazy, crazy plays. And, these Georgia kind of safety slot type of hybrid players, I fell in love with Tyke Smith last year. I think that Malachi Starks is even better than Tyke Smith, who had a phenomenal season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year, by the way. But Starks, in my opinion, is maybe a top 10 player overall in the class. If you're going to take away positional value, I think he's going to be a hell of a player, and I can't wait to see what he does at the NFL level. Number 19, this is a little high for me for Elijah Arroyo, but Mel Kiper has him at number 19. Arroyo had a phenomenal Senior Bowl. He was getting open a ton. He's a great receiving threat. I really do have him in a different tier from the other two tight ends that we'll talk about later in the show here. I think 19 is a little bit rich. He had a really good Senior Bowl. He's going to be a very good player, really good tight end class this year. But in my opinion, 19 is a little bit too high for Elijah Arroyo. The number 18, I think that this is too low for Luther Burden III, in my opinion. All right, Luther Burden III, so dynamic with the ball in his hands. He actually reminds me a lot of Malik Neighbors, man, when I watch him. His ability to cut and move after he has the ball in his hands, something you just don't see very often. He has elite acceleration, which just, makes him very tough in the open space, but also makes him very tough to guard in terms of his routes. I think that he still needs a little bit more refinement in his routes. I wouldn't say he's an elite route runner at this point in his career, but he's just so goddamn fast that he's so hard to cover. And then he's also super tough catching the ball over the middle of the field. I think Luther Burden III might end up being a top 10 player from this class. I think 18 is a bit too low for a talent like that. Number 17, Mike Green, edge rusher out of Marshall. I really like Mike Green, obviously lower level of competition, but he ran over Josh Connerly Jr., who's expected to be a first-round pick this year at offensive tackle at the Senior Bowl in the viral clip at Mobile. Like, there was the clip coming out of the Senior Bowl this year. Mike Green, he's going to be more of a true outside linebacker, but as he showed at the Senior Bowl, he's got a shit ton of power when he's converting speed to power. Love Mike Green's game. My comp for him is the Predator, because I just look at him out there and he's just hunting quarterbacks, man. He's awesome. I think he's going to be a great player in the league, and he's going to be pretty darn good right away. Number 16, Mel Kiper Jr. has Josh Simmons. Now, Simmons is coming off an injury. Really had a phenomenal season last year before he got injured. And, Mel Kiper said in this article here that if he didn't get injured, he might be considered the number one offensive tackle in the entire class, and I agree with him. The hand placement, the balance that he shows, along with the physical tools that you look for, I think that Josh Simmons is an excellent prospect, and at the end of the day here, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets taken even ahead of number 16 in terms of the pick where he ends up going. Then number 15, Mykel Williams, the super long levered edge rusher out of Georgia. Love Mykel Williams, athletic freak with long arms. I mean, he's going to be able to have an absolutely deadly long arm in the National Football League. And that arm length is obviously something that NFL teams look for. I think that he certainly has the potential to be one of the most dominant NFL edge rushers once he gets to an NFL team. So love what Mykel Williams brings to the table. Number 14, Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. Really good player as well. Honestly, maybe the best offensive tackle prospect to ever come out of Texas, in my opinion. He's just absolutely fantastic. Moves well. He's got the physical body type that you look for. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he's the first tackle taken off the board, at least true offensive tackle. Then number 13, Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. And Loveland is just super solid all around. Like, he's just somebody that's going to get open for you. He's going to block for you. He comes from a blue collar type of culture there in Michigan. I think that a team that likes to have inline tight ends and likes to use their tight ends both as blockers and as receivers is going to fall in love with Colston Loveland's game. Number 12, we got Shamar Stewart, the defensive lineman out of Texas A&M. He can play on the interior, most likely as a 5 technique if you want him to do that, but he can probably also be a 4-3 defensive end that's just got incredible size. And Stewart showed off his get-off and his athleticism at the Senior Bowl. He was a big winner there in Mobile. Is one of the reasons why he moved up Mel Kiper Jr.'s big board this time around. Then I said that Kelvin Banks Jr. might be the top true offensive tackle prospect in this class because Will Campbell might have to play on the interior. But Campbell's technique is phenomenal. His balance and his anchor is incredible as well. He's probably definitely the best overall offensive line prospect in this draft. The question is, will he play offensive tackle in the league or will he kick inside? So that's going to be an interesting question to see what team drafts him and then what their plan is for him in the future. Number 10, Mel has Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. Phenomenal talent. All right, like super explosive, like uniquely explosive for the tight end position. Great hands, gets open, all these different things that he brings to the table. I really love the fit with the Indianapolis Colts, who are picking at number 14, so keep your eye on Warren to the Colts at 14. Number 9, Will Johnson. I love Will Johnson. I have a top 10 grade on him. He's got, maybe not quite as fluid athleticism as a guy like Travis Hunter, which is why I have Hunter above Will Johnson in terms of my cornerback rankings here. But Johnson, in my opinion, great long levers, sticky in coverage, great in zone coverage as well. Really good at reading the quarterback. Just phenomenal athleticism as well. Maybe the hips are a little bit tight, but Will Johnson's going to be a really, really freaking good corner in this league, guys. Number 8, Jalen Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia. He's a phenomenal blitzer. All right, he reminds me a little bit of Frankie Louvu, where he can play kind of that role where he's an off-ball guy, but he does blitz a hell of a lot. He's a phenomenal pass rusher. So even if you wanted to use him as a true 3-4 outside linebacker, even at his size, like you could probably do that with Jalen Walker. But I think that, he's going to be such a weapon in the league that you're going to want to put him all over the formation. Defensive coordinators that like to move guys around are just going to absolutely be salivating over drafting a guy like Jalen Walker. Absolute physical freak. Then number 7, I think this is actually a little bit low for Shedeur McMillan because I'm very, very high on T-Mac. I think he's the second coming of AJ Green. And people forget how good AJ Green was in his prime. Like he was arguably like top 15 talent-wise receiver all time in his prime. He was unbelievable. Like Shedeur McMillan, for his size, like dominating, ball hawking type of size, great hands. He's a really smooth route runner, and he's so good after the catch as well. Like, I think that the Drake London and the Mike Evans comps are just not accurate whatsoever because this guy is not even close to the same level of athlete as Drake London and Mike Evans. This guy's on a whole different level, and, I think that he brings a lot of those skill sets, the bigger body, the ball hawk, the ability to win vertically, but also the ability to make guys miss, the competitive toughness, like the route running. I love T-Mac's game. I think he's higher than number 7, but that's just me. Number 6, we got Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. I have a huge grade on Ashton Jeanty. I love this kid's game. He's got phenomenal contact balance. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. Phenomenal vision, home run hitting, long speed, phenomenal jump cut. Like everything that you want in a true do-it-all number 1 running back, a bell cow. Ashton Jeanty's going to be able to provide that for an NFL offense. Now, he could probably go as high as 6 with the Las Vegas Raiders, but he could also fall as far as like number 21 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's kind of like the range that I could see him going in. We'll see after Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs how the National Football League kind of values the running back position here. But hey, I'm going to make Ashton Jeanty my Sperry Psycho of the day here because of how versatile and how ready-made he is to be a star NFL running back. All right, he's going to be the presumptive favorite for me to win Offensive Rookie of the Year next year, depending on which team he ends up going to. But, if anybody in this class, and it's a phenomenal running back class, if anybody's going to have an Ezekiel Elliott type of impact in their first season with their NFL club, it's going to be Ashton Jeanty with his ability to break tackles, to break off long runs. He's a little bit smaller, but he's 215, which is a really good size. He's really built up in the lower half, which allows him to really drive through defenders. And because he's smaller, he's harder to bring down. So I love the skill set that Jeanty brings to the table. I think whoever drafts him is getting a superstar running back day 1 in the National Football League. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already for more draft videos from us here at Chat Sports. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. And without further ado, let's get to Mel Kiper's top 5 prospects in this year's NFL draft class. Number 5, Cam Ward. And then number 4, he actually has Shedeur Sanders above Cam Ward. Now, we put out a video on this earlier, last week, I think it was, why I have Cam Ward way above Shedeur Sanders. I don't think it's close. Cam Ward is higher on my board. I think he's the only guy worth using a top 10 pick on. The thing that concerns me about Shedeur is he doesn't have high-end arm talent and arm strength, and then he pairs that with not phenomenal anticipation. Like he has to see things get open before he throws it, and if you pair below average arm strength with below average anticipation, that's going to lead to interceptions. That's going to lead to pass breakups, right? You have to be able to play on time in the National Football League. And, even though Sanders makes good decisions with the football, even though he can mentally process a defense pretty decently, he usually doesn't let that thing go before the receiver is out of his break, at least based on the film that I have watched from him. So I think that Cam Ward should be above Shedeur Sanders. And by the way, Shedeur McMillan and Ashton Gianti being behind both of these quarterbacks is an absolute freaking joke, Mel Kiper Jr. The number 3, we got Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. A little surprised Kenneth Grant, the other defensive tackle, the 340-pound athletic freak out of Michigan, didn't make Mel's top 25. He'd probably be on my top 25 right now. But Graham is a phenomenal player in his own right. He's going to be a dominant pass rusher, 3-technique type of technician from the word go. If your defense needs a disruptive interior pass rusher, Mason Graham is the marquee guy in this year's draft class. And then we get to Darth Vader here, number 2, Abdul Carter. It kind of just seems like with the Myles Garrett trade situation that Carter is just destined to be a Cleveland Brown, which sucks for him. But, I think that Abdul Carter is a phenomenal player. Obviously, coming from that pedigree, wearing number 11 at Penn State means something, all right? Like, he's an athletic freak. He's got great long arms, super explosive, like crazy rare explosiveness for the edge rusher position. So excited to see how his NFL career is going to go and where he's going to end up. Probably in the top 3 picks in the NFL draft this year. The number 1, I do agree with Mel Kiper Jr. on the number 1 guy here, Travis Hunter. He'd probably be the number 1 corner on my big board this year, and then he'd be the number 2 wide receiver. And then you combine those two things, and you combine the value of him being able to be a potential two-way player. I think that his value is just exceeds everybody else in this year's draft class. If the Tennessee Titans wanted to take Travis Hunter this year, I would not blink an eye. He's got phenomenal ball skills for both positions, great technique in my opinion, both positions as well. Some of the best mirroring ability as a corner I've ever seen. Super oily hips. I mean, like he needs to put on a little bit of poundage. He's a bit light. And that's really the one knock I have on him. But make no mistake, Travis Hunter is the best football player in this year's draft class, in my opinion. And if he doesn't go top 3, somebody's going to get an absolute steal. So shout out your guy down there in the comments section. Who is the best player in this year's NFL draft class? Is it Travis Hunter? Is it Mason Graham? Is it Shedeur McMillan? Is it somebody else? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Who's the best football player in this year's draft class? Make sure you click that subscribe button and join us here on the NFL Draft channel all season long. We got you guys covered with daily NFL Draft videos, breaking down the latest mock drafts, the latest big boards. We give our positional rankings and our mock drafts on this channel every single week as well. So if you want to get us going here, click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, peace out.